In 1704, Alexander Selkirk lived alone on an island. His story is quite different. Unlike other survival stories of people who got stranded against their will, Alexander chose to be left behind on the island. He had a serious disagreement with his ship captain, which ultimately led him to make this decision. For the first few months, it was a struggle. Being all alone with no human contact, it drove him crazy. However, after his 4 years and 4 months ordeal, it completely changed him as a person. In fact, knowing what happened afterwards, his stay on the island became the best decision of his life. Born in Scotland in 1676, Alexander grew up in a working-class family. At a young age, he worked with his father as a shoemaker. Although he was quite a hard worker, he had a very short temper. In one occasion, he got into a heated fight with his older brother over a silly prank which led to a huge family matter. Eventually, he got tired of the boring working lifestyle and decided to run away and joined a band of privateers in hopes to make a fortune. This was during the height of piracy, so there was a lot of money to make, but very risky. He wasn't a pirate, he didn't terrorize and steal money from foreign vessels. He was a privateer. He was licensed under the government that gave him permission to engage in maritime warfare. Through the years, he went to various expeditions and climbed to the rank of a navigator. This time period was during the War of the Spanish Succession, and most of his assignments were in South America to fight off the Spanish. He later joined the crew of Captain Thomas Stradling. Now, Alexander and Captain Stradling didn't see eye to eye. They had a lot of disagreements. The captain was only 21 years old, 7 years younger than Alexander, and he came across as an arrogant person. The only reason he became the captain was because the previous captain who ran the ship died, and he was second in command. Thus, it was passed down to him to lead the crew. Although the two didn't get along, they still continued to do their job and took down numerous enemy ships. However, after a while, their ship took a toll, and they had docked at a nearby island to restock and repair. Just 400 miles west of Chile was an archipelago called Juan Fernandez Islands. Before sailing back to sea, Alexander and Captain Stradling had a huge argument on whether they should head out now or wait it out and make further repairs on the ship. Captain Stradling was eager to leave the island since he feared that they could be spotted. Even though there was nobody at the island where they landed, he was not 100% sure that they were alone. He was not familiar with the land and wanted to prevent being ambushed by the enemy, especially when their guards are down. On the other hand, Alexander insisted on staying a little longer and make further ship repairs. He believed that the vessel wasn't in great condition and needed more time to fix some damages. After a long argument between the two, the crew members ended up following their captain's order and sailed with him. Now, as for Alexander, he feared that the ship would eventually sink, so to save his life, he chose to be left behind on the island. During this time, Alexander tried to convince the other crew members to stay with him on the island and told them the dangers of sailing with a damaged ship. Unfortunately, at the end, no members joined him. They thought it was too risky to be on the island with no certainty when the next ship will come to pick them up, or would there even be one. So for that reason alone, they would rather take their chances sailing on the ship than be left behind. Now, when Alexander realized that no one will join him, he changed his mind and wanted to board the ship. However, Captain Stradling pointed a gun at him and blocked him from entering. Before sailing away, they left him with a few items for his survival: a Bible, a hatchet, a musket, some rations, and clothes. Regret. That was the first feeling Alexander felt as soon as the ship departed from the island. For the first few weeks, he was completely lost. Being all alone, he suffered from depression. His anxiety kicked in, and he constantly scanned the ocean in hopes for any ship to come and rescue him. He still couldn't believe that he made the dumbest decision of his life. But being all alone, he had more free time to read the Bible. This helped him clear his mind and saw a different perspective in life, and most importantly, he felt a sense of hope. After a while, he accepted his fate and went along with it. He left the shoreline and stopped scanning for any ships anymore. He went to the interior of the island, and to his surprise, it was much better. There were feral goats roaming around the island, which he hunted for food. As months passed by, he gradually adapted to his new lifestyle. He was quite resourceful. He wandered around the island and found materials to craft into something. For instance, he used barrel hoops that were left on the beach and crafted a wooden knife. He built 2 huts made out of wood branches and long leaves he gathered. He spent most of his time sitting under it and reading the Bible to pass time. It also helped that he had experience in basic tailoring, since he worked under his father at a young age. When his clothes got worn out, he improvised and sewed new ones by using goat hair and a nail. The island had a subtropical Mediterranean climate. Its temperature hovered between 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit all year round. This was ideal, since he didn't have to worry too much about the extreme cold during the winter or extreme heat during the summer. Although the island had all the important necessities for a human being to live in, Alexander also faced some problems. Since he had no refrigerators to keep the animal carcasses, multiple rats often bit chunks of meat. But when he smacked them away with a huge branch, they would just come back during the night and attack him in his sleep. So to fix his problem, he domesticated feral cats. He made them his pets and trained them to bug off the rats while he slept. He lived quite peacefully on the island. He had a routine every single day. Wake up, boiled some water for him to drink. Some days he would go hunting, or sometimes he would skin the goat he hunted a day before to prepare it for a meal. Most of his day he spent reading the Bible, sang songs, or just roamed the island for exercise. Alexander and the crew who left him weren't the first people who landed on the island. There were others who stopped by there before. That's why there were signs of broken wooden barrels, torn bushes, and branches. Even the feral goats that he found in the interior of the island were probably left behind by the people previously, and the animals repopulated. So he knew there's a chance a ship crew may stop by the island to either explore it or simply restock supplies. And that is exactly what happened. One day, he saw 2 ships from afar sailing towards the shoreline. He rushed to the beach and waved 2 large leaves for them to spot him. But the big mistake Alexander did here was he didn't check the ship's flags before revealing himself. It turned out that the 2 ships were Spanish. As soon as he noticed, he hid into the tall grass while observing them from a distance. When the Spanish ship docked, the members of the ship rushed with their guns and started searching. They were aware that they saw the man and were now looking for him. Then they started shooting randomly at the bushes to try to scare him. They searched deeper in the island and found his hut, Bible, and other supplies. By looking at the Bible, they knew he was the enemy because it was written in English. The search continued for a couple of hours until they finally gave up. They realized he was alone after searching through his belongings, and it wasn't worth their time. On February 2nd, 1709, another ship docked on the island. This time, he was sure the ship belonged to the English. Woodes Rogers, the captain of the expedition, stopped by the island to restock and rest some of his crew members who were suffering from scurvy. He saw Alexander and described him as the wild man dressed with goatskin and jokingly labeled him as the governor of the island. Before leaving, Alexander helped out Captain Rogers' crew and hunted 3 goats and prepared a meal for them. He cooked it with multiple spices he gathered, which contained enough vitamin C to fight off scurvy. In the later years, Captain Rogers published a book. In it, he described the time when he rescued Alexander. He was impressed by his calmness despite living alone on an isolated island. The book later then became an inspiration to the famous novel Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. Now as to what happened to Captain Thomas Stradling, the one who left him behind. His ship was found west of Peru. Apparently, Alexander was right. The ship eventually gave in, and the crew were forced to dock on the coastline of Peru. Unable to repair the damage in time, the Spanish spotted them and were captured and sent for harsh imprisonment. The captain was then sent off to France for further sentencing. As for his crew members, there were no records as to what happened to them. At the end, Alexander made the best decision of his life.